Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook, so you can stop guessing and start healing and finally feel like yourself again. No more one-size-fits-all protocols, just real answers, deep-rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show.
So I'm going to get kind of rocking and rolling here. So topic of today is just how to stay on track while vacationing. And this is a big topic that I always get asked with clients, with people that are, on their weight loss journey. That's one of the big sticking points I have is when they tend to go out to eat or when they're traveling, they screw up all their goals or they screw up on, the progress that they've made, which is not true. But, so I'm going to talk about how to essentially stay on track. Let's see, second. So, as spring break is coming up and hopefully some of us are doing a little more travel again, finally, I'm going to kind of break down different ways that I approach this with my clients as far as how to approach your exercise, your nutrition, preparation, and then also what to do after you get back from vacation as well, because that's a missing piece that's sometimes just as important as, the actual vacation. So one thing is always be realistic with your goals and what your actual expectations are going forward in vacation. So when I have a client going to vacation, one thing I always do, no matter what, is say, let's be on the same track. Are you planning on tracking? Are you planning on working out? Do you want to work out? Because some clients, they don't want to work out at all. And that's totally cool. Some people want to stay on top of their workouts because they feel better that way too. And I'm always programming different workouts that they can do while they're gone. But be realistic with what you're actually planning on doing. What I mean by that is if you're like, yeah, I'm going to work out like 5 days a week and, I'm going to track my macros. And then when you get on vacation, you end up feeling like loosey-goosey and just want to relax and chill. Like, then you feel disappointed and like mad at yourself when you come back, that you didn't do it. So for the most part, at least for my clients, I'm usually programming anywhere from 1 to 3 workouts if they're gone for a week. And that's what they're comfortable with, but at the same time, don't completely slack on yourself too. Like vacation is very, very important, especially mentally, or just as the society, we're just very stressed out and we need vacation to chill. So you don't want to slack on yourself too. Steps, literally, I can't stress the importance of just getting steps in. That'll make you feel better. It'll keep, you burning a little bit more calories if, the point is potentially like weight loss phase. So just choosing like activities that are active, walking, hiking, biking. If you're wanting to just lay on the beach and chillax, maybe you do a few, walks down the beach. So, just some different options, just stay active and not just sitting on your butt and an excuse for a week to just like do nothing. Again, if that's really what you're looking for, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But those are usually 2 things that I like to stress with clients as far as the exercise side of things go. But as far as the nutrition side, because that's usually what people struggle with the most, especially on vacation, people get in this headspace like, well, I'm only on vacation, a few times. I'm just going to kind of eat whatever I want and I'll deal with it when I get back. And then they get in this kind of vicious cycle where their weight goes up. They feel like crap. It takes them a few weeks to kind of get back on track. And, I try to minimize that on the front end of things where, setting expectations for, are we going to be tracking food? You do not have to track. Most of my clients do not track on vacation. Some of them like to do that. It helps them stay on track. And just making sure you're enjoying yourself, but you're not overindulging to where you don't feel good. But as far as, I tell clients, same thing, like when they're not on vacation, 80-20 balance is super duper important, right? Want to have, good balance of proteins and fats, also carbohydrates. One thing is if it's hard to tell what you're actually eating when you're out at like a restaurant, which I have a whole other video on like what to do as far as like how to actually track at restaurants and stay on track when you're eating out. But using the hand method to just kind of like approximate what you're eating, meaning like, I don't know if any of you guys have done this, but this is approximately like a serving of protein, about 3 ounces, give or take. Then you measure this for fats. You measure this for carbs. So that could be just an approximation of, so figuring out how much you're eating. But if at all possible, try to get to a store and buy some protein rich snacks. That is always going to be the lowest. Protein and fiber are always going to be the lowest when you're out and about, particularly on vacation. So grab things that you know you're going to be a little bit lower in, like some ideas would be like beef jerky, jerky sticks, protein bars. I personally bring protein powder. I bring like all my powders in a baggie, and then I throw it in a portable blender. So I buy some like frozen fruit sometimes if I have a freezer, or some spinach, and I just throw it in there and make a little smoothie on my own. And I always drink that first thing just because I know, one, it'll make me feel better. Two, I'm not going to eat enough if I don't do that in the morning as far as protein or fiber goes. So those could be options. If you have an Airbnb or something where you have like, you can cook something a little bit more. What you could do as well is track like breakfast and lunch, or track things you can control, and then have like a dinner where you don't necessarily track, and you just are a little bit more mindful about what you're eating. So in a perfect world, when you're going out and eating, always try to order a vegetable and always try to eat the vegetable first. If you don't eat the vegetable first and you eat your carbs first, you're likely going to overeat. So try to have the protein and the vegetables first as priority, and then carbs secondary. You'll just feel a lot more full that way. So as far as, what do you think of more snack ideas? Like roasted chickpeas are a good option if you don't have, if you don't eat meat. Vegan protein bars, vegan protein powder. Yeah, those are the ones that are coming right to my mind right now. But one of the biggest things that I see with most clients when they come back from vacation is they overindulge a little bit too much in alcohol. I'm not anti-alcohol at all, but it adds up like a lot. And on vacation, it's a lot more easy to drink more, especially when you're on the beach and they got these like fun frilly drinks, and you just want your pina coladas with a little like umbrella by the beach. It's my favorite. But usually those drinks are anywhere from 300 to 600 calories a piece. So just something to consider is those add up really quickly. Not to mention they will potentially make you not feel that great too. So make sure you're always drinking your water. I tend to bring electrolyte packets with me, just if I know I'm going to drink a little more on vacation. If there's like a open bar or something. I always bring those electrolytes to make me feel better the next day. If you care and you want to know my favorite electrolyte powders, shoot me a message. But one thing you can also do in advance when you're going out on vacation is looking at where you're going to be eating ahead of time. That can be really, really helpful. So pull up a menu, plan what you're going to eat. I typically tell clients, plan out your evenings, like what your dinner is going to be first, or your biggest meal of the day where you're going out to eat, because that's what you really want to work around. If you're going to go out to eat and you're going to an Italian restaurant and you see these like delicious pasta and what do you call it? I'm trying to think of pasta and bread, garlic bread and stuff like that, and you really want that, it's fine. So maybe on lunch and breakfast, you have a little bit more protein and vegetable heavy things and limit the carbohydrates so that you can use more of the carbs for the evening. But definitely preparing yourself ahead of time can be helpful. And it also helps you mentally, because what happens a lot is we, eat during the day a lot, and then it comes to dinner and then we feel like, oh shoot, I kind of want to deprive myself a little bit because I ate so much during the day, but then I really want all this like delicious bread basket or whatever it is. And like you overeat and you feel guilty because you think you ate too much. So planning ahead of time and being realistic with what you're going to eat can be very helpful. Some other things too is just, if you have a refrigerator wherever you're staying, just bringing half of whatever you're eating home. Most dishes when you go out to eat are anywhere from 600 to 2,000 calories a piece. And that's because oil and butters, it just adds up really, really quickly. So even if you order like a lower calorie and like quotation healthier option, it's still going to put you back anywhere between $5 and $7.50 typically for a meal, right? So just factor that in. Some other things to do while you're out is just like asking for dressing on the sides. If you're going to have like or if you're going to have like a salad, going light oil, light butter, that really, really helps. Just being careful with condiments. Being careful with dessert. That's another one that adds up a lot. Like share your desserts if possible, or take some home, have a few bites of it so you get your fix, and then, take it home and be able to snack on that throughout the rest of the week. Doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as you're being mindful, that's really the biggest thing. That's going to help you stay on track and also just make you feel better when you come home. So when you do come home from your vacation, here's my number one tip. Don't weigh yourself. I know this can be tempting because a lot of people just say like, I just want to see how much I gained while on vacation. And then they think it's fine and they get on the scale and then it pisses them off and their whole day is ruined because they gained all this weight and they think they failed. And, your weight will almost always be up after vacation, especially if you flew, because flying can cause a little bit more water retention. Your food's off. It's different than what you normally eat. So you could have some inflammation from that. You're probably dehydrated. So don't weigh yourself. Give yourself a few days for your body to just get back to normal. And then you can start weighing yourself, after, if that's your plan. But don't get in this mentality of, I have to burn off all the vacation calories, right? Like, just get back to your normal routine as you normally would. Get back on your schedule as you normally would, and things will come off. It's actually funny because some clients actually lose weight on vacation, which is always fun to see. And it's not necessarily because their food was better or they tracked their food or their workouts were better. It's just their stress was lower. So like cortisol and stress and all that jazz can like absolutely impede your weight loss. So I have had some clients go on vacation, have done nothing at all, and then drop weight. So could be from under eating because sometimes people like don't have access to as much food, but most of the time it's because their stress was lower. So anyways, when you come back from vacation, really try to get the water down, just get back to normalcy. It can help a lot with jet lag. Jet lag is usually caused from like dehydration, but definitely drink your water. You probably had a little more cocktails than you probably intended to. So, just getting that hydration back is important. And then just, all my clients have their workout and nutrition plans already set for them. But if you don't, just make sure that you have a game plan for when you come back. Don't try to do it when you come back, because you're just going to be probably need to get caught up on work, and that's going to get in the way. Maybe you're coming back to kids and like, they want to occupy a lot more of your time. Maybe you're coming back to just like overload with laundry and stress and stuff like that. So like, make sure you have a game plan going. When you come back, it will make you way more successful and make you feel better way quicker. Sometimes people come back from vacation and it's suddenly 2-3 weeks down the road before they finally like start getting on a plan again. And it's kind of a long time, right? So, if you don't plan the week, it's just going to go by very quickly and you'll make more excuses on why you can't get stuff done. But I'll tell you the literal number one mistake that I see people making before vacation that's actually going to ruin your progress. And this is something like I'm not going to deep dive, but I wanted to just kind of mention, because what tends to happen is people are going to go on vacation. And a lot of times we go on vacation to like, beaches or somewhere where you're going to have, bikinis or one piece, whatever you wear. But what a lot of people do is they end up like crash dieting right before they're going to leave. And they just cut their calories like really low to try to drop weight in order to feel better in their, attire. And that's like one of the worst things you can do because one, you're going to feel like crap. If you cut your calories really low, you're not going to have a lot of energy, but also it tends to happen if you cut your calories for a long period of time and you just keep lowering them. What happens when you go on vacation and you overeat, your body is adapted to this lower metabolism where you're eating less. And then when you go on vacation and you for the most part, most people will overeat, you're going to gain it much quicker. Like a lot quicker, and you're going to blow up like clients will say, like, I blew up like a balloon when I went on vacation. Well, yeah, like it wasn't necessarily that they ate crazy amounts. They ate more than what they were eating. Their metabolism wasn't used to just this big jump all of a sudden, right? So, in a perfect world, you can do a mild deficit going into vacation, but try not to be in a huge, deep deficit. In a perfect world, you're not dieting at all and you're reversing your calories up a little bit before vacation. That way you have a lot less potential to actually put on weight. while on vacation. So anyways, I hope that helps. If any of you guys are going on vacation, I'd love to know where you're going. Have a great week, guys.